Hello everybody, good afternoon, I hope you're all well. I thought I'd try a slightly different type of video today because we are going on to some Necron combinations, some combos that you might not possibly have thought about, or just like little combinations that I've found recently, particularly after the new balanced data slate. And I played a tournament this weekend, we took some silly lists, played a lot of silly played a lot of silly games, and some of the combinations in there I thought I would share with you. So I have 5 combinations plus a little like a bonus unit for you to think about as well. So we're going to go through all these little combos and see what you think about them. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't, maybe you've thought about them, and if you've got any favourite combos that you use as well, stick them down in the comments below and let's get a nice big combination sharing collection for Necrons here. So we have, see if I can get the right button first. We do, there we go. So first one is the Nemesis, the Nemesis Andrek Grumpy Bond. Now Nemesis Andrek this is the one of the combinations that I took to the tournament this weekend. The tournament it wasn't a competitive tournament. It was called a Throne of Skulls tournament at Warhammer World, where you are encouraged to take slightly more kind of fluffy, like a little bit more casual list. So you had people rocking up with their old 20-year-old Dark Angels armies, all metal models. There was an Iandan army there, which was really cool, with a Wraith Knight. But lots and lots of kind of cool army ideas as opposed to the most refined, most perfect army list that you might see at a grand tournament. Anyway, I thought I would use this one because I took centipedes, and I love centipedes, but to enable me to take centipedes and still be able to kind of compete in a game, I thought I would try and take a little bit of a solid core, and this was one of the solid cores which I used, and it was actually quite fun. So it was slight variations on this, but this is the combination which I'm going to talk about today. So Nemesis Andrek is based around Nemesis Andrek. Now this combination is not consistent, it's not reliable. It is more about having the ability, when you roll well, having the ability to then move out and do something which you want to do. So I will explain. Nemesis Andrek is leading a unit of Tesla Immortals with a Plasmancer in there as well. Now, Nemesis Andrek, Nemesis Andrek, at the beginning of your turn, you roll a dice, and he will give the unit either lethal hits, sustained hits, or devastating wounds. So what you're going for is devastating wounds, obviously. Okay, so you want as many devastating wounds as you can. Now, devastating wounds has changed in the balanced data slate, so it's no longer mortal wounds which just kind of carry over and roll over. It is just a flat out damage. You don't get a save, blah blah blah. There we go, there's the damage, there's all the wounds that have gone through onto your unit. Now if you put that in a unit of 10 Tesla Immortals, which have already got sustained hits as well, so you're rolling 20 dice, you're already hitting on 2s, because Immortals are hitting on 3s, and then they are they are in a unit which is being led by a character, so they are hitting on 2s. If you then have a Plasmancer in there as well, they are critting on 5s rather than 6s. For their sustained hits too. So from 20 shots you are roughly getting 6 crits, which is giving you an extra 12 hits. You're already hitting roughly 18 times, something like that. So you're getting around 30 hits from this unit. Now the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant, this is dependent on what you're shooting at. Okay, so Tesla Immortals have an ability within themselves that they re-roll 1s to wound. If the unit that they are shooting is on an objective, they're re-rolling all the wounds, which is brilliant for this. So you can roll your wounds. If you're shooting at a unit or a vehicle that's already on an objective, you roll your wounds, you pick up anything that's not a 6, and you fish for more 6s. You fish for those devastating wounds. Now, you're getting 30 hits, roughly. You could high roll it and get even more hits, which would be fantastic. So then when you're rolling to wound, you're going to get about 6 mortal wounds. If you then re-roll everything because they're on an objective, you're going to get about another 4 or 5 mortal wounds. So that's 10 mortal wounds / devastating wounds that go straight through, ignoring damage, ignoring saves. And that's pretty cool. Now, if they are not on an objective, if the unit that you're shooting is not on an objective, so say you want to really kill a repulsor executioner that's moved out into the midfield to get some lines of sight, and you really want to kind of pop it. Now you can pop the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. So the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant allows you to re-roll all wounds at half range, which is very, very cool. Now, Tesserae Mortals haven't got very, very long range. They've only got an 18-inch range, so getting into half range is going to be a bit tricky. However, the stratagem is if you are being led, if the unit is being led, then you can do that at full range. So you can now re-roll all wounds at full range, even if that unit is not on an objective, which is perfect. So that's just like a little bit of a tweak there. The Tesserae Mortals have the ability anyway, but if the unit that you're shooting is not on an objective, pop that strap, boom. So just drop 10 mortal wounds on a tank from Tesla Immortals, which is insane. Now, I ran this at the weekend with a few little differences. I didn't have 10 Tesserae Immortals painted. They're currently being repainted at the moment. And the Tesserae Immortals seem to take longer because you've got to do like the glow slightly differently. Anyway, excuses. I took Gauzy Mortals on this one, and 20 shots, and then fishing for 6s with just 20 shots was pretty gross. So I can imagine with Tesserae Mortals just casually, and that's on average. You're dropping on average around 10 mortal wounds, 10 kind of devastating wounds. I've got to stop saying mortal wounds. 10 devastating wounds through on this unit. So if you high roll, you could quite easily one-shot a tank. Yeah, there we go. So this is, like I say at the beginning, it's not reliable. This is much more a roll the dice to see what Nemesis Andret gives the unit, and then if you roll devastating wounds, then you have the flexibility then to kind of know that you can put some damage onto another unit. So that is combination number 1. Enjoy that one. It's a cracker. Right, so moving on to combination number 2. This is one that I am absolutely loving. It's just so fun, really, really useful, particularly for secondary game when you need to get to objectives, deny objectives, just kind of push and pressure your opponent just a little bit so that you can reach out and grab objectives which are maybe a little bit further away and your opponent might not have thought you'd been able to get. It's really, really good. This is Fire and Fading Immortals. So what you need for this combo: 3 things. Really, really simple. You need a Chronomancer, a Necron Lord, and some Necron Immortals. Now, the Necron Immortals you can take in two different kind of flavours. You can either take the Gauss Immortals or you can take the Tesserae Immortals. There are combinations and benefits to both. Tesserae Immortals, you're going to get a load more hits, so if you're playing into a Horde meta, if your local meta is very, very Horde heavy and you've got lots of Genestealer Cult, then maybe you drop some Tesserae Immortals in there. Gauss Immortals, I mean, it's not really a damaged kind of unit. You're not going to be chipping away and doing lots of damage to tanks and things unless you want to use the combination number 1. But you will need a Chronomancer and a Necron Lord to go in those Necron Immortals. Now, you can... Let's go back. Let's talk about what these do. So the Chronomancer, absolutely fantastic. First off, it gives you the unit. It makes the unit -1 to hit. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. That's in combat as well. So even if you're getting charged, they are not taking as much damage as they should be. And the Necron Lord gives them +1 to their movement, which is perfect for this combination. For the Chronomancer's second ability, it allows them to, once they have shot, they can then make a move of 5 inches. Now, I need to check the wording on whether the Necron Lord adds to that. I will come back and check that. In fact, I will go and check that now. So I've just checked. The Necron Lord gives you +1 to the move characteristic, so it's not going to stack with the Chronomancer's movement bit. But what you can do with this, if you need to pressure an objective, or if you need to get wholly within the centre for area denial or anything like that, you can move, shoot, and then move again. The benefit of this is that if you have the assault weapon, you can move, advance, and then move again as well. So if you have the assault keyword on your Tesla Immortals, then you can move a little bit further. However, if you have Gauss Immortals, you can also spend a stratagem, 1 command point, and you can give the unit assault keyword. So that's even better. So move, advance, shoot, and then move again. Really, really fun. And yeah, it catches a lot of people off guard. Obviously, don't use it as a kind of gotcha. Always try and tell your opponent that you are able to do this. But yeah, it really does allow you to kind of reach and stretch and capture areas of the battlefield that you might not ordinarily be able to. It's really, really good. Okay, so next one. The Silent Gunslinger. This is really, really simple. It's really, really simple one, this. The Silent King. I've been trying to, since the Data Slaters landed, I've been trying to write a few different army lists based around the Silent King. Now, the Silent King has a really, really cool ability. He's got some auras in there. He has an aura of reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1s to wound, and that's really, really useful, particularly when units are already hitting on 2s. So you're shooting at absolute full efficiency there. So you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, that's all the hits. He also has an aura of ignoring any modifiers, which is fantastic, and you'll see this pop up again in one of the other combinations. Now, the Hexmark Destroyers are just some of the most fun units in the Necron index. They're utterly they're just really, really fun. They're almost obnoxious. They don't do that much damage, okay? So they don't do that much damage. However, they do a lot of damage over 5 turns. They've got 6 shots. They hit on 2s, and they are strength 6. They're -2, and they're 1 damage. So they haven't got that much damage. They do have a little bit of punch with the -2. It's really, really good. But the Silent King, allowing them to reroll 1s to hit and then rerolling 1s to wound, is really, really useful. Now, they do also have precision. It's fantastic for those Spirit Seers that might be wandering around, and as I'm sure we all know, they can overwatch for free as well in your opponent's turn. So if a unit of Wraith Guard with a Spirit Seer in there does get a little bit too close, they can all kind of pop off, which is great. And the other thing that they do is if your opponent is shooting a unit that is nearby them, I think it's 6 inches, then they get to fire back. Now, whenever they are firing now, as long as they're within 6 inches, I think, of the Silent King, they're going to be hitting on 2s, even in Overwatch, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. They're strength 6, so if there's anything that's toughness 3 out there, they're going to be wounding on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Otherwise, it's going to be wounding on 3s, 4s, 5s, whatever. Re-rolling 1s. So that little kind of combination is very, very expensive, and it's very niche. But a lot of these combinations are anyway. They're not. We're not talking about the crazy 20 Necron warriors which just don't die. These are little nuanced combinations which we want to talk about. So that's just like a little bonus one, just thrown in there. It's really, really fun. If you are kind of playing around with the Silent King and you are writing some lists with the Silent King, try dropping in 3 Hexmark Destroyers in there as well. Because it's over 5 turns, just 1 Hexmark Destroyer just does so much work. I can't imagine what 3 would do. So I do want to try this at some point. It'd be really, really good. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Devastating Tomb Blades. Now, with the change to Devastating Wounds, with that, it's no longer just a mortal wound, and it doesn't really change a lot for Necrons as such, but what I've started to do is just kind of go through and have a look and try and find all the Devastating Wound weapons in the index and try and see what kind of combinations we can do. Now, there is a way that you can do this with Triarch Praetorians as well. Triarch Praetorians have more shots, but their strength isn't quite as high, and it doesn't particularly matter because you've got to be fishing for the 6s anyway. But particle beamers, particle casters, anything like that, any of the particle weapons for Necrons all have Devastating Wounds. Now, the particle beamers, these also appear on the Chronoptech Spider as well. Particle beamers are D6 shots, which is fantastic. So Tomb Blades can have a particle beamer, and you can have them in units of 6. So you then end up with 6 D6 shots. Now, they only hit on 3s. Sorry, no, they hit on 2s. Tomb Blades hit on 2s. A Sovereign Coronal in there is for the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant. So if you combine those two together, again, the Protocol of the Conquering Tyrant is rerolling wounds within half range unless you're being led. Now, Tomb Blades can't have any character in them, so they can't be led unless they are next to a Hexmark Destroyer or a Technomancer or something like that that has the Sovereign Coronal. That's a enhancement, and that gives you an aura of counting as being led by a character. So the Tomb Blades then are hitting on 2s with their 6d6 shots, and then you can fish for those 6s and you can re-roll everything. Now you could high roll this. 66 shots could be 36 shots. It's not going to happen, but you could end up with 36 shots re-rolling, hitting on 2s and then re-rolling everything on the wounds to try and fish for those 6s. It's not going to happen that much, but you should quite comfortably be able to get around 10 again mortal wounds out of this little one. Now this one is much more, I don't want to say it's much more reliable, but it's more reliable on when you want to do it. So because Nemesis Zandrek, you have to roll at the beginning of the turn to find out whether he's going to even give the unit devastating wounds. Tomb Blades always have this. So a unit of 6, slightly large footprint, it's not too bad. You can still hide it. They've got quite a good movement, so they can get up there. They've also got Scout as well, so you can put some pressure if you are going first, and you can get right up into the midfield. Right up into the midboard and put some pressure on with the devastating wounds from these. So 6d6 shots on average, that is about 20 hits or 20 shots hitting on 2, so you're getting 18 hits, and then you're re-rolling all of those 18, so you should be getting something like 6, 7, 8 mortal wounds, something like that, devastating wounds. So no saves, just damage just goes straight through. So yeah, really nice little combination. Again, devastating wounds, again, it's something that you can reach out with and just put a little bit of damage on before you're going to put in your big guns or some other stuff. So if there's a vehicle out there that's going to cause problems, thinking of you Redemptor Dreadnoughts, I expect to see lots of Redemptor Dreadnoughts coming and hitting the meta, or within your little gaming group. If you're playing Space Marines a lot, Redemptor Dreadnoughts are going to be a little bit of a pain. -1 damage, it doesn't really matter with this because it's only 1 damage, so being able to put out consistent devastating wounds might be quite interesting. Let's have a look at the last combination, which is objective control with an exclamation mark, because this is absolutely silly. This is where the Silent King turns up again. We're going to use the Silent King for his aura of ignoring all modifiers. So you're not allowed to modify any characteristic that is in the aura of the Silent King. So if you put Necron Warriors in there, which have an objective control of 2, then you are not allowed to modify that. So if you are battle shocked, nope, I'm sorry, they are still objective control 2. If you are going in there and you are reducing the characteristic, the objective control with Nurglings or swarms like that, nope, I'm sorry, they're still objective control 2. If you put a Catacomb Command Barge nearby as well and string back your Necron Warriors, then you are objective control 3. Forever, consistently, just constantly objective control 3. The Necron Warriors in that list has got 3 dots next to it. You can take as many as you like. If you think about this, Necron Warriors, a unit of 20, now has a guaranteed objective control of 60. Which is absurd. So you can string that out. You can drop 4 models on an objective, 4 Necron Warriors on an objective, string it back to the centre, and that objective now can't even be taken by a unit of 10, like normal troops, because you've got 12 objective control on there. If you have 40 Necron Warriors, that's 120 objective control in that little kind of clump. If you take 60, you can see where this is going. If you take Illuminor Ceres as well in there, he has an aura of, which is absolutely fantastic. He's got an aura of Armour of Contempt, so you are ignoring -1 armour penetration, or you're taking off 1 off the incoming armour penetration, so the Necron Warriors are then not going to get as much damage hitting into them as well. And then obviously the Canoptek Reanimator as well, just to kind of keep them going. You can add in all sorts of things into there. So you can add in a Ghost Arc as well, throw in a Necron Lord for even more reanimation. You get the idea. That's the reanimation combination. I'm trying to talk, this one's a little bit more about the objective control. So yeah, Silent King in the centre with Necron Warriors just stringing back to him, so that, I mean, you don't even have to string back that very far, because you're going to be trying to hold a corner of a battlefield anyway. But yeah, Silent King, 40 Necron Warriors, try that just for starters, with a Catacomb Command Barge. You can give the Catacomb Command Barge an enhancement as well. You can give him the Sempiternal Weave just for a little bit more durability if he does get shot at. But yeah, Necron Warriors, Silent King, Catacomb Command Barge, 120 objective control on the board without any problem at all. Have a little giggle with that one. So yeah, there we go. And then the last one, it's not really a combination. It's a little bonus unit that I want you all to think about. And it is the Canoptek Spider. Now, the Canoptek Spider, I think, might start being really useful. I was using the Centipedes this weekend, and I came up against Thousand Suns. Now, Thousand Suns, obviously, have an awful lot of psychic devastating wounds, psychic damage, anything like that. Same with the Grey Knights. And to try and, it was a very, very bad matchup for me, but to try and kind of hang into the game as long as I could, I kept putting the Centipedes in particular places to enable that aura that they have to be mostly beneficial. Now, they have two auras. They have one aura which is a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, which is really, really good. Very, very good, particularly for when you're going into things like Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, which are putting out a lot of mortal wounds, and they are putting out a lot of psychic attacks. Sorry, it's not mortal wounds, it's psychic attacks. I've made a mistake there. It's 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. And then it's a 6-up Feel No Pain just for vehicles, just for any damage, which is brilliant if you want to run Doomsday Arcs, if you want to run double Monolith, something like that. That would be really, really fun. A double Monolith with a 6-up Feel No Pain, and Monolith has 20 wounds. If you give it a 6-up Feel No Pain, it's effectively got around 24 wounds, and then you're healing it as well. It's incredibly tough to get through. So just have a think with the way that the Balanced Data Slate has landed. You might find that the Canoptek Spiders are actually going to be quite interesting. You can have them in units of 2, and they can also have, remember the Particle Beamers devastating wounds that we were talking about earlier, they can also have 2 Particle Beamers each, so that's 4d6 shots. They don't hit very well, so you have to put them next to a Sovereign Coronal character again, just to give them a little bit of a buff. But again, Canoptek Spiders near the Sovereign Coronal, they're going to be hitting on 2s because they do get that +1. For some reason, the Particle Beamer just seems to hit better for Necrons. I don't quite know why. So yeah, have a think about Canoptek Spiders. It might be quite good fun. And they also bring back a lot of Scarab Swarms as well, which is great. So yeah, there we go, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that one. I want to try and do a lot more of these, so I spent this morning just kind of setting up this little template so that I can go through and I can do these quite quickly. But there are some Necron combinations for you to think about that maybe have slipped underneath the radar and maybe you haven't spotted. And yeah, go and have some fun. Let me know how you get on with these combinations down in the comments below. And as always, please drop a like and a subscribe to this. There's lots more coming. I do absolutely love my Necrons, so I'm going to be talking about all the Necron Codex when that comes out, any new Necron characters, please, any new Necron models, etc., and things like that. And if you want to know how I painted all my Necrons, you can scroll down in the videos and you can find all my tutorials down there as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one. Bye bye.